Hello, and welcome to the Living Oracle, where we just, draw a bunch of oracles cards and see what your message is. So we're going to start today with an archetype card, and then, I can't live without my Dixit shadow work cards. So we're going to pull one of those, and then I've got some other fun decks to look at. So let's start with that right now so we can get an idea of what we're working with today. The storm. Ooh. Now, as an archetype, the storm is definitely upheaval energy and kind of analogous to the tower in tarot because of the lightning bolt, right? The lightning bolt is clarity. The lightning bolt is rebalancing. Lightning is a rebalancing of, the atmosphere, the positive and negative electrical charge. But I also get the feeling of like the eye in the storm, right? The eye in the storm. So in order to flesh this out a little bit, let's go ahead and look at your shadow card. A lot of emotional energy here, water energy, storm, and then feeling like you are drowning. And like, this reminds me of like in the old days, like women would wear, crinolines and hoop skirts and stuff. And if they got wet, they would get pulled in and drown, even if the water wasn't very deep, because the weight of their clothes, right? And so looking up and trying to be like, I can't, I'm buried and I'm getting pulled down and I can't get out of this, this storm. It feels like it's never ending. It feels like right when you feel like you're starting to gain traction, it's definitely that one, huh? It feels like something else gets piled on top. So it just feels like you've reached your capacity for something, and things are, coming kind of to a head because you keep thinking, oh, I can't handle anything else. And then something else happens. And that's so much to handle. So let's go ahead and look at some of your other oracle cards, and then we'll keep expanding. Family, nurture familial bonds. Okay, so for a lot of you, this turmoil has to do with your family, and it doesn't necessarily mean there's anything. It could be family relationships, but it can also just be like struggling with money, or some, one thing piled up on top of another. So like maybe someone lost their job, and then there was a break in a friendship, and then, there's an illness. It really could be anything involving family. So let's go ahead and pull that up there. But it feels like I said, like one thing keeps getting piled on another. And so it feels very chaotic. But, storms clear things out. Just like the tower clears things out. It gives you clarity. The problem is sometimes that clarity is extremely painful, A, to get to, and B, when you realize it. A lot of times the clarity isn't the pain. The clarity brings an understanding of where you betrayed yourself, or where you overgave, or where someone else who you trusted betrayed you. And that is the painful part, right? Clarity is just what it is. How are you interpreting the clarity that you receive? What does it mean? Surfer. Look at all this water. Wow. So getting surfer for this is really interesting. I get the feeling here of going, like, basically a surfer catches a wave, right? And, the ocean especially is very emotional. So you've been trying to, on the surface of your persona and stuff, you've been holding it together, skimming on top of this water, but it's getting to where you're having a really hard time not exploding, or a really hard time you're having a hard time masking, a harder time masking the kind of roiling emotions beneath. The universe goes on. Okay, so with that being said, you're being invited by the oracle to stop and put things into perspective. there's a song by Mazyahu, and he says, you have one tiny moment in time for light to shine and burn away the darkness. One single tiny moment. This is your single tiny moment. You know, the universe is billions of years old and will be here for billions or trillions of more years. And for 80 to 100 years or whatever, you get to be here. You get to experience the world. You get to experience life. That's not to downplay the struggles you go through at all. I would never do that. Everyone's struggles are valid, no matter how small or how large, right? Because it's important to that person. And it, you know, in their heads it might be really big, in their hearts it might be really big. It's fine. But a little bit of perspective to help you see the absurdity of life. I feel like that sometimes we forget the infinite jest as the mystery. Yep, the infinite jest, the dark side of the moon. We forget. We've been getting that card a lot lately. It feels like I need to be listening to Pink Floyd. Dark Side of the Moon album is amazing. Inspiration. Look at that. You are in a phase of great inspiration. Every aspect of your work feels exciting and creativity flows effortlessly. That's the kind of energy you want to be embodying right now. You know, I'm always talking about transmutation. How can you transmute overwhelming energy into I feel like this one too. How can you transmute overwhelming energy into your power? Because remember, a lot of times the most overwhelming things are the things that contain the most power. So like when you have a very strong emotion, that's so much magic, right? That you could channel towards what you want to manifest. So, but yeah, getting back to that, like the idea of the absurdity of things that you see going on in the world. And that doesn't downplay there are a lot of really bad things that happen, right? But our human minds, we can't absorb everything. You've got to do the best that you can do, right? As I always say, 8 billion people's problems, we were not meant to contain that in our brain. So it's good to be aware, but you also have to pace this, right? You have to pace or you're going to be overwhelmed. How many times are you saying yes to people when you do not have the energy or the capacity? Remember that energy, that time, it's gone and it's not coming back. You have to be able to say no. You have to be able to stop and self-care, because other people might always say, oh, this is an emergency. There's always going to be some emergency, and then you're going to always be putting off your peace. You're always going to be skimming on the surface until you feel so overwhelmed that you feel like you got pulled under, right? Yeah. Doing all of this for love with that family card too. You genuinely love helping people. You genuinely feel inspired by helping people. But that, don't forget to also love yourself, to also inspire yourself through your own self-care, through the exploration of your own hobbies, through the exploration of, gosh, it can be anything. Like, I'm telling you, just staring up at the moon reminds me of when I was a kid staring up at the moon and how fascinated I was. And I was like, ooh, wow. And so like, I might not remember what that felt like, but I remember remembering how it felt, right? And so falling in love with life starts with embracing the absurdity, not trying to control everything, and saying no when you need to say no and taking care of yourself. Pay attention to your work and a journey, either physical or mental. This is that thing. I'm getting real, what do you call it? I'm getting real hanged man energy, hangman tarot energy. So like the situation that you're in where you feel like you're just getting piled up, feels like if you can switch your perspective, you can harness this energy for yourself with this carriage here especially. Okay, I won't lie, I still check up on you sometimes. Is there a part of you who is not letting go of some things in the past, and that therefore is holding more weight on you? This could literally mean checking up on an ex or something, but it could, because that leaves weight on you. But it could mean, are you ruminating over some past things? Are there patterns in your behavior? Are there patterns in your thinking that come from the past, even if you aren't thinking of it consciously? All right, let's take a look at your angel card. Karma. Balance, finances, success, wealth, cycles. What goes around comes around. 888. Look out for that number. A lot of money is coming your way. Fortune refers to more than just monetary and material success. If you don't appreciate the people in your life now, you won't have them tomorrow. This message encourages you to take personal responsibility and use it to realize your greatest potential. This is that thing about like switching your viewpoint. And honestly, when I think of karma, because, of course, karma is not the universe police or whatever. Karma is the natural consequences of an action. Like I always say, if like you hit your knee, the natural consequence is that your knee hurts, right? The universe didn't say, I now judge you and you have a hurt knee. It's just the natural. So the feeling I get with this is that if you're overloading yourself, oftentimes you're throwing yourself between other people and their karma in order to make the other person's life easier. And you can't do that. You can do it, but first of all, it doesn't help. It just delays their karmic lesson. And I am not judging you. I have done this so many times and paid the price for it. But you end up suffering their karma, and they still have to suffer it. So it's like it didn't even matter, right? That's the pain. That's one of those betrayal things that happens with this feeling of self-betrayal. And so don't step between someone and their karma. You can't. I mean, you can, but it's just like both of y'all get the karma. And it usually ends up being worse because, and if you can't do it for yourself, because I had a really hard time, it's like, but I was kind of in wounded healer mindset, right? So if you can't do it for yourself, remember it hurts them, because the longer that it takes for them to start having to deal with their own karma, the more and more it's grown, the more and more out of control it's gotten, because you were shielding them from the natural consequences of their actions. All right. Whew. I feel like there was a lot here. So, find a way, even if it's for just 30 seconds or 1 minute, to stop and remember. Stop and remember. Remember the mystery. Remember the absurdity. 1 minute a day, right as you're going to sleep, say, I love me, and put your hand on your heart. Do what you can to let go of these past. If you are literally looking up on somebody, that means they're living in your head. They're living rent-free in your head. And you want to let that go. All you can do is practice. Practice makes perfect. Great things coming your way. When you can switch this mindset, it's already like this is sitting there waiting for you to just flip your perspective. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Please let us know in the comments below how this is playing out in your life and when you realized the absurdity of life. I would love to hear that, because to me, people who understand and feel both the seriousness and the absurdity of life, those are the people who know what's going on, right? So, Alan Watts says something about like life is far too important a thing to ever take seriously. And it's true, right? Most of the systems and almost everything that we deal with on a day-to-day life is manufactured. It's not real. It's only real because we collectively agree that it's real. So a lot of times what's weighing us down, we can be like, oh. Then you have to deal with the betrayal of like, oh my gosh, I gave so many years or so much time to something that wasn't real. And then, of course, there are real world consequences too, because everyone else is buying into the system. But when you are able to take a step back and get over the betrayal trauma of understanding that you bought into a system or an idea or whatever, then you start really healing into this kind of energy, right? Okay, I'll see you next time, Mystic Travelers.